Hello, the purpose of this video is to sort of address the difference, describe the difference between a functional versus a chronological resume. So this is a functional resume that we're looking at, and this is a strong example of a functional resume. And the difference is that a functional resume focuses on skills, not experience. A chronological resume is going to put the focus and the emphasis on experience. Now, choosing which is best, that kind of depends on you and what experience, what skills you have. Typically for people that are either re-entering the workforce or just starting out in the workforce where they don't have a lot of relevant experience, doing a functional resume will actually suit them better. Someone who has experience in the field, say for myself, when I applied for my position at SPSCC, I already had a lot of experience teaching English. And so it made a whole lot more sense for me to focus on that experience and highlight that, not the particular skills that I possess. So this is an example of what it would look like as far as a functional resume. Again, the focus on skills. So still education, important, relevant. Gonna start that off first. You should always start with your most recent education and then go sort of, it's called reverse chronological order until the sort of the farthest one from your past. And then it's going to focus on skills and how sort of the best way to set this up, the way that's going to make the most sense for readers, for other people looking at it, is to literally label it as such, which is you call it your skills section, but then you break it down into 3 categories. And I'm actually going to provide a helpful list of these different terms that you can think, ways to break it down in a separate document, so you'll have access to that. This student chose communication, collaboration, and work ethic. And then underneath each of those, this student listed out 3 descriptors on, well, what do they mean by they have skill in communication, right? So just to give you an example, I'm not going to look at all these, but the communication one, the student says they communicate information in a clear manner, verbally and in writing, or in writing. They listen actively to managers, coworkers, and customers, and they're familiar with online sources for communication, including marketing and customer relations. So it's very specific, right? It's not just, oh, well, I have skills in communication, collaboration, work ethic. It's like, no, here's actually descriptions of my communication skills. The general guideline is to use 3. You don't want to get too listy, and 3 is kind of the 3 skills and then 3 bullet points under each is a good general guideline to work with. You do still need to include work experience if you have any, and that can include things like internships. It can include, if you don't have a lot of experience, jobs for family. If you have a ton of work experience, then you might want to target the work experience most relevant to the job that you're applying for. I just realized that this one actually has an error right here. Oops. I'll fix that later. But this student sort of helped me revise this to have 2 versions, so I'll make sure that that is correct on the version that you all have access to. But as far as formatting, this is literally what it would look like. Now, you could choose to include something like work-related interests could be another category if you wanted to add in something else, or if you have awards from school or in a particular field, that can be useful. So again, if I was applying for teacher jobs and I had an award for teaching excellence, it would make a whole lot of sense to include that on my resume. But I wouldn't include things that didn't relate to teaching. So maybe I got awarded best new, I don't know, best new salsa dancer 2013 or 15. That has nothing to do with being a teacher, right? So it wouldn't be relevant. You might also notice, excuse me, that this student did not include objectives. The objectives are hard to write, and sometimes it's in your best interest to just not have them there. Unless you have a really strong one, they can hurt you rather than help you. And so this student just chose to go without one. I typically do not include one. The only time I have intentionally included objectives is if I am applying for a job where they specifically talk about something about growing with the company or longevity with the company, then it makes sense to include an objective where I reflect my interest in being with the company long term. But as far as just in general, a lot of times it's going to suit you better to just not have that started. So in terms of how that looks different from a chronological, here's the chronological. So you're going to see, this one's set up pretty different. Same student, same information, but they do have some different categories on this one. So directly after education, they start with their work experience. Again, they're going in sort of most recent to furthest back. So they start with their education, then they go to their actual work experience. You'll see that their descriptions under their work experience have become a bit longer. You'll also notice that they're not using full sentences. They're using phrases to describe. And their phrases are very consistent in formatting. In other words, they are parallel. Now, as far as just overall formatting, you'll see the formatting very clear, right? It is entirely put together the way you would hope to see it put together. Spacing is exact. It's very easy to pull apart the different pieces of information. Then this student added an additional qualifications category, and in this category, they directly addressed some of the pieces that were being called out on the job announcement. So they were trying to make it clear that, hey, look, yeah, I don't have lots of experience otherwise, right? I was an intern, I worked in a computer lab, and I was a server at pizza. But you know what? I still think I'm qualified for this particular job. And so here's the things that they called out. And then there's also this section where they were like, you know what? I think there's going to be some technology I need at this job. And so they added this technology skills section where they, again, it isn't vague. It doesn't say something like computers. They say, now I can use PC and Mac. They can use Autodesk product design, which I believe is a common, a common tool used for engineering. And any engineers in class might correct me on that, but I'm pretty sure that that's what it's for. Data collection software, website creation, office phone system, smartphone technology. And so again, they're listing out key pieces that they feel really is relevant to this particular career based on the job announcement that they were given. So again, different resume, same student, same person, very different emphasis, right? One emphasizes the skills, one emphasizes the work experience. And so when you're thinking about which one you're going to pick, that is the biggest thing to consider is, do you have work experience? Is it going to make more sense for you to write the functional resume where you really emphasize your skills and abilities over this idea of really emphasizing work experience? So this is what they look like. And again, you can take a closer look on your own time and let me know if you have any questions.